The final assignment in the current topics in neuropharmacology module will be the Controversies Essay. For this, you're going to have to read and review current peer-reviewed scientific and medical literature on a topic, on a controversial topic. And you'll have to discuss the evidence for and against the statement with references as well as tables and diagrams if they're necessary, and to be able to critically evaluate the information, which is the important part here. And finally, to be able to summarize and give your own opinion on the matter. So what do we expect from you? Well, we'll expect you to summarize the main points of the essay in an abstract, so 200 words maximum, to give an overview or an introduction to the topic and why it might be controversial, and using references, using published studies, peer-reviewed studies, to discuss the arguments for and against the statement that you're given or that you choose to use, possibly with the use of summary tables or with diagrams to explain things like mechanisms of action or biological effects, and then to be able to critically evaluate this evidence. So to give your perspective on the evidence that you find in these published papers, whether it's good or bad, and then finally to summarize the arguments for and against, and to give your own opinion, to state what side you come down on in that particular controversial statement, and to give reasons why. So it's marked, the essay is marked using a number of different criteria, so we want to be able to see that you effectively integrate the literature into the summary paragraphs. So it isn't just a case of listing off a load of studies. We want it to be written well, to be effectively integrated into the paragraph that you're writing. Do they show evidence of critical reflection? So have you stated what the evidence is, but maybe commented on why it might be good or bad evidence and give reasons why? And are they well written? Is there fluent writing? Is it grammatically succinct? Is it correct? Things like that, and not just a list of bullet points, for example. And finally then, are the references appropriately cited in the summary paragraphs? So have you used the appropriate literature? Are they from peer-reviewed sources? Are they referenced correctly? So in terms of the marking scheme then, there'll be 10 marks for the abstract out of 100. The content, meaning the studies that are included in it, will get 40 marks. So whether or not they're appropriate, whether they're relevant to the argument that's being made. 30 marks, so 30% of the marks go for critical evaluation. So we really want you to not just list what the studies find, but to give the kind of, to evaluate this evidence, to not just accept it for what it is, but essentially to find out whether it's good or bad evidence and say why. And then finally 20 marks for the references, so whether you have the appropriate number of references, whether they're from peer-reviewed sources, whether they've been referenced correctly in the text. So as usual, the recommended sources of information would include places like PubMed, the Web of Knowledge and Scopus, that have been detailed in the tutorial on the drug portfolio, medical journals, science journals, clinical trials, if the statement refers to a particular drug that's been discovered or developed, and to not use sources from the internet that aren't peer-reviewed by experts in the area. So, for example, not using Wikipedia or a blog, for example. So in terms of referencing, the same goes for this essay as it did for the drug portfolio. So the citations in the text should be written as the author's second name, so their surname, and the year for a single author. If it's two authors, then both of their surnames with the year, and then for more than two authors, it should be the surname of the first author, et al., and then the year. And citations, remember, should appear after a statement is made, not just at the end of a paragraph. So if you make a statement about something that you that you avoid using websites, that you use edited sources like peer-reviewed journals, like books, periodicals, things like that, and that you try to cite more than one reference in the text where possible. especially for general introductory paragraphs, that you don't just rely on the same reference again and again. And if possible, to use the original data article describing the finding rather than just all review articles. So from a style point of view, the bibliography should be Harvard style, so it's standard amongst all our assignments. And remember that journals and books differ slightly in terms of how you reference them, and it would be recommended for you to use a reference manager of some kind, such as EndNote, for example. So all of these essays will be submitted through Turnitin. If you're not familiar yet with the university policy on plagiarism, please click on the website link here in the slide. It does involve a point system. You can be referred to the plagiarism advisor if you have a high level of plagiarism, and this can lead to disciplinary action. So please remind yourself about the plagiarism sheet in the handbook and to read and understand it, and to check your plagiarism score once it's generated in Turnitin.